What if Deku had the commandments? Part 6. I'm trying something new, so sorry if this video comes out later than 6 p.m. Eastern Time, but let's get right into it. Now, where I left off, Izuku was trying to figure out how to activate his half-demon form. Remember, he was able to acquire this form during his fight with his sister, Izumi. Now, when he was trying to think, he completely lost focus in his fight and dodging all for One's attacks, so he ends up getting hit straight into a wall and gets knocked unconscious. This is where he meets the same demon that he met during his fight with Izumi. The demon obviously wants to take over Izuku's body again, but knows better, so he lends Izuku his power. As this happens, a massive black beam appears from Izuku's body. What is left after that is Izuku in his half-demon form, which is just basically Asta's demon form. Now, he puts his hand to his chest and pulls out a sword. He flies up to All For One with his wings and chops down on All For One, breaking his helmet but not severing his flesh. The helmet splits in two as it falls and clanks on the ground, leaving a destroyed face with no eyes and just a mouth. Darth Vader without a mask looks so much better than this, basically. Now, after this happens, All For One gets incredibly weaker as time goes on, as he needed that mask. It used as a respirator. It helped him breathe just like Darth Vader's mask did. So he's incredibly weaker than he was with it. So Izuku, using his flames and his sword, ends up beating All For One, as All For One primarily uses quirks and doesn't know hand-to-hand combat. Remember, this sword is basically an anti-quirk and anti-magic sword. So, since All For One can't use his quirks, each time he's hit with it, one of his quirks ends up not being able to use for a certain amount of time. He ends up giving up he ends up just giving up on using his quirks. So he starts trying to fight one-on-one or 1v1 in fist fighting, which isn't gonna go well. Izuku has a sword, which is for close range fighting, and he also has flames for long range, which causes All For One to end up getting sent back with many third-degree burns which cannot be healed unless Izuku wants them to be. All For One starts breathing heavily as he doesn't know what to do. It's like, damn it, can't beat him. I'll have to end this with one final blow. He starts powering up as many quirks as he still has left into his one arm and winds his arm back. He's like, this is my hardest hit, kid. Get ready. As he starts sending the punch straight towards Izuku. Now, spoilers for Black Clover, like the newest parts or the newest episodes of the anime. Izuku's sword starts growing longer. I mean, I haven't watched it, but I've watched clips of it. So Izuku's sword starts growing longer as he goes and it chops All For One's arm straight off as he goes and chops him up into little pieces of sushi. And from that, everyone was kind of in horror by this. This demon just killed All For One, but at the same time saved millions of people. Their fight caused destruction, but the city was evacuated before the whole thing went down. It was also pretty much abandoned with very few people living in it. Now, after All For One's death, this causes basically a new age of things. There's no more terror as there's no more All For One. Now, after this, they basically tell them that they have to go get their provisional licenses, which I haven't done in a what if in a really long time. I don't even think I have. But once they go to get their provisional licenses, everything ends up going the same. Izuku ends up getting his license as he's like, yeah, I finally accomplished my dream. It's one step closer to becoming a hero. after this, Izuku ends up asking to go with or to go um to Night Eye's agency. He ends up going to All Might for this, just like in canon, and All Might ends up agreeing. Now, Night Eye never has any problems with Izuku. I'm saying All for One went to Mirio. I mean, Izuku knows about it, which Night Eye does not know of. So when Izuku walks in, Night Eye says, "So, are you Izuku? You're here. You're here to be having your second internship, right? Hmm. I suggest I'll have you with Mirio then, going on patrol." Zuko's like, "Oh yeah, didn't All Might give All for One to him?" This causes Night Eye to get shocked, and he's like, "Wait, how do you know?" Zuko just smirks and says, "All Might offered it to me, but that would just make me too overpowered." Now, Izuku has not met Mirio yet, as the fight with the three big three of UA, that fight with 1A never happened. Since that never happened, they never met Mirio. But Izuku knows about Mirio as All Might told him. Night Eye doesn't really care. He After Izuku explains, and he's like, "Alright, at least he gave it to Mirio. Now you'll be going on patrol tomorrow, so get ready and go get used to your surroundings." After that, Izuku goes and introduces himself to Mirio. He's like, "Hi, I'm Izuku Midoriya. Who are you?" Mirio, of course, says, "I'm Mirio Togata. Nice to meet you." Now, time skip to the next day. This is when they're going on patrol with where they end up having Eri run into them. Izuku checks her bandages. He's like, "Oh, jeez, what kind of monster would do this?" That's when he sees Overhaul walk out of the alleyway. He looks at Overhaul. He says, "Is this your child?" Overhaul says, "Yes, I'm sorry for my daughter. We were just playing a little game of hide and seek. That's all." Suki just smirks and he's like, "Oh, hide and seek, were you? Can you tell me why there's cuts on her then?" Before Overhaul says, "Oh yeah, she just fell down the stairs." Suki smirks and says, "You really are an idiot, aren't you, Overhaul? You really haven't heard of me, have you? I'm 10. I hold the power of the 10 Commandments. And one of those commandments is the commandment of truth. If you lie or go back on your word in my presence, you turn to stone. That's exactly what's happening to you right now." Now, Overhaul didn't notice this when he first lied to Izuku, but then he looks down and sees that half his body is already turned to stone. He, he puts his hand on his chest and tries to use his quirk, but nothing's working. See, as his legs are already stone, they're rock. They're not a part of him anymore. And that's all he can do. He can't save himself, so Izuku ends up having him turn fully into stone. Now, both Mirio and Izuku know that Night Eye was trying to capture Overhaul. So, when they brought him in as a stone statue with the little girl Eri, Night Eye was insanely happy. He obviously thanks Izuku and asks if he can, you know, undo his curse or the curse of stone. So Izuku does, and as soon as he does, he puts core canceling handcuffs on Overhaul. Now, they end up trying to get information on him, and the Yakuza ends up falling since there's no leader. Nobody's there to give them orders, so they end up just leaving. There's no Yakuza anymore. When it comes to the question of who's going to adopt Eri, the little girl, or Eri, I always like saying Eri, but it's Eri. Now, when it comes to Eri, the little girl, Izuku proposes that he can adopt her. Now, they say the little girl also needs a mother. So Izuku walks back to class, says, "All right, I know I have a fan club of girls, so please come up. I have a decision. Now, I'm trying to adopt Ari, this little girl I saved from Overhaul, and I need a mother figure. Who do you think could do it? They all look at Uraraka and Momo. They are the people that are most obsessed with Izuku. Izuku thinks for a moment and ends up choosing Momo, as that's what you guys voted for. Sorry for all the people who wanted Uraraka, but that's just somewhat of a common ship. He ends up taking Momo as they adopt Eri, with Momo being the mom. Eri's very comfortable with this, is that's what happens. Now, this is going to be the last episode of What If Deku Had a Commandment, or what if this is going to be the last part. So, here is the epilogue. Now, let's time skip 5 years into the future, making Eri 11. Yuri has a very good control over her quirk, as Izuku tried to teach her how and train with it. So he ends up helping her train with that, and Momo and Izuku end up getting married and live in the same house. They end up graduating from UA around 2 years after the overhaul incident, as Izuku is now the number one hero called what should his hero name be? I mean, it's not really gonna matter, so I'm just gonna call him the Ten Commandments. That's gonna be his hero name. He's the number one hero, and the crime rate has dropped insanely. After all this, Mario is the number 2 hero. Momo, I'd say, is probably around the number 15, 10 hero. They end up having a child together, which I'm not even going to name him. That's up for you guys to decide what you want the child to be named, but they end up having a child together. After this, basically all the world lives in peace, as they now have a protector, which is Izuku, or the Ten Commandments. Izuku ends up passing his power on to his son, which once he grows old enough, he'd pass his power on. And lucky enough, his son has the commandments, or Izuku and Momo end up having twins, one a girl and one a boy. Izuku knows exactly what happened to his sister, so he protects them both. Basically, the boy having all of Izuku's 5 original commandments, and the girl having all Izumi's original commandments. Now you may be wondering what happens to Shigaraki and the war between heroes versus villains. Izuku ends up capturing Shigaraki and destroys the whole Liberation Army and all that. It's gone. They live in peace. And that's where I'm gonna leave it off for What If Deku Had the Commandments. I hope you guys did like this series, and I hope you guys did vote on what new series should come out tomorrow. If you haven't, please go ahead and do so. See ya, guys. Bye.